Hey guys, Carl from Purple Moose Plays. Today I'm going to be taking a preview look at a prototype copy of Endeavor Deep Sea from designers Carl de Visser and Jarratt Gray and publishers Burnt Island Games and Grand Gamers Guild. This game is a kind of point-to-point movement, map-based exploration, action selection, kind of worker placement, tableau building, sort of character recruitment, kitchen sink kind of a game in which you find yourselves as a group of explorers, or scientists really, exploring the depths of the ocean, working on conservation projects, journaling your discoveries, and so on. I should mention that I was given a preview copy of this game for this video, and I also should mention that unfortunately the GameFound campaign for this game is already finished, but unfortunately I got the prototype copy a little bit late for this video, but I have been assured that there will be a late pledge for this game, so I did want to get this video out there just so you can get a look at the game and see what you think. With that said, let's head down to the table to see exactly how the solo mode plays, and then I'll meet you back up here to let you know what I think. Before we get started, I do just want to point out here that this is a prototype copy of the game, so everything you see on screen throughout this playthrough and my final thoughts will be prototype components and are very much subject to change. In fact, some of them have already changed during my time with this game. But with that being said, let's go ahead and get into the setup of the game. To set up a solo game of Endeavor Deep Sea, you're going to first begin by choosing a mission. Now in this case, because I expect a lot of these videos will have focused on the first mission or sort of the tutorial kind of mission, I'm going to be doing a playthrough of mission number 2 today. And already you can see this is just a piece of paper that I printed out because there have been quite a few upgrades or updates to this mission since the prototype copy was made. So I wanted to have the newest version of this mission to share with you. And I'm going to explain a bunch of what's on here later as we get into gameplay. But the first thing I want to talk about is just this sort of setup area up here. And this says Mission 2, Maps and Charts. Only a tiny percentage of the ocean has been mapped. We're going to try and change that today. Dust off that sonar screen and see as much of the deep as you can. It says this mission has 5 columns. Place the Sea Star, Column C's remote anchorage, and the looking glass as shown. And then it tells me that the Sea Star is the launch zone. Each player places 1 vessel there and gains its arrival bonus. So I'll explain what all that means as we get into the gameplay. But first, I need to set up the starting area like this. So again, we're going to place out the 4 tiles that are listed here in the setup at the beginning. And we're always going to have, at least in the first 2 missions, we're always going to have 5 available columns to us. So I need enough space that there could potentially be 2 more columns. And also you'll see later on, we could go down to a depth of 5 tiles. So I'm going to make sure that I have space on my screen for those 5 by 5 tiles. And then once we have the initial tiles set up, we're going to take each of the 5 different sort of levels or depths of tiles that we have, and those depths here are marked by this gear icon right here on the front of each tile, shuffling up all of the remaining tiles of those depths and placing them all out on the table. Next, as reference to what we're doing and also sort of used as a game board, I'm going to set the mission card itself up here, top of the screen like this. Next, I'm going to seed the board and build a supply of these dive tokens. I'm going to place them all face down, shuffle them up, creating several stacks of them like this on the board. And then we're going to fill in anywhere that has a dive location with those tiles or with those tokens. But currently looking at the 4 map pieces that we have, there is right here at the Sea Star. You can see this circle with the number 4. That means that location should start with 4 of these dive tokens. So 1, 2, 3, 4 of those will go right there on that space. Next, I'm going to set up the journal cards. First, at the start of the game, you're going to take these anchor journal cards, they're sort of the starting journal cards, give those a shuffle and place out 4 of them to start, like this. And then I'll take the remaining regular journal cards, give those a shuffle as well. And we'll just set them off to the side right here. And I'm going to have to move this around probably as we go because there will be a column of tiles here. But I'll shuffle and shift everything on the screen as needed while I play. I just wanted to get as close to this game as possible without sort of wasting any space to give you the best view of the game. But again, this is a pretty sprawling game, and this tableau will grow in strange different directions every time you play, so I can't really set up exactly. So again, these cards might need to move around, but we'll see that as needed. And then finally, to finish setting up the solo setup before setting up my own player area, I need to take these sort of solo and co-op goal cards. There are 6 of them. They are double-sided. I'm going to give those a shuffle, and I'm going to sort of flip some over as I'm shuffling. And then we're going to choose 3 of those for our game, and I'll explain these later. I'm just going to place these out. Here, we don't need this map anymore, so I'm just going to use this area of that board to set those up like that. And again, I will explain what all of those mean as soon as I talk about how the game plays. And then finally, to finish setup before getting into gameplay, we have to set up our own player area. So we're going to take one of these player boards, and this is again something that has changed in the most recent version of the game, and I'll explain that as we get into gameplay, but these star symbols are now printed on the first spot of this last section of the board, and I will play that way. I'll show you what that means when we talk about the game. So I'm going to put that here, like that, this way. And actually doing so, I realize I do have a little space. It's kind of off screen, but I'm going to stick those cards over there. And then we're going to begin by placing out our starting specialist, which is this team leader right here. Placing out our markers on each of the starting spaces of each of these 4 tracks. Over here, and this one down here on 0 as well. Then off to the side of the screen, I'm going to be placing these smaller markers. These markers will be used to mark spaces up here on this track. So I'll stick them off to the side of the screen over there. And then my supply of sort of action discs, I'll place off to the side down here. And finally, the 3 ships. Again, these shapes are likely going to change. I think they're sub-shaped in the actual game, but this is all prototype component. One of them will get placed in the launch zone, and the others will be placed off in my supply to the side. And actually, you know what? I might just stack them here and here as a visual reminder that those spaces are the spaces when I will unlock those. And again, the third one does get started in the launch zone, and the launch zone, it says in our mission setup, is the C star. So we're going to put that here, and we're going to instantly get the bonus for placing in that location, which is 1 activation disc. So that will go there. We also start with 1 activation disc on our team leader card. And like that, we are all set up for gameplay. Although having said that, and then looking down next to myself, there is one more thing that we do need, and that is the tray of specialists. I'm going to leave that here on the table for right now, but again, as this underwater area grows, there may be no space for that. I might have to shift it around, or I might have to take it off screen and back on screen as needed. But these are going to be our specialists, and they start off pretty much organized already. Level 1, Level 2, Level 3, and Level 4 will always stay the same. So they can stay as is, but these Level 5 specialists are going to sort of be randomly available to us. So those should get shuffled at the start of every game, and they'll get placed out randomly like that. I've put 2 in each box. Those top ones are going to be the ones that are available to us at the start of the game, and as we recruit them, we will be, uncovering new ones. Also, again, here is another space where things have changed since the prototype copy that I have. You'll see that this one tile only is gold on both sides, which is actually what they call a senior specialist. I'll explain that shortly. But when I looked on the TTS mod currently, this does have a junior specialist on the front side now called the Deep Sea Diver. And I'll explain that if I make use of this tile later in the game. And with that, we are all set up for gameplay. So the solo mode of Endeavor Deep Sea is going to play out over a series of 7 rounds with the sort of end game goal of accomplishing as many as possible of these 3 specific goals, sort of randomized co-op solo goals, these 3 mission-specific goals, and then this sort of scoring goal as well. And basically how many of those goals we manage to accomplish at the end will sort of be our rating or our ranking at the end of the game. But if we have only accomplished 3 or fewer of those goals, we do not win the game. So we have to complete at least 4 of them to win the game, but up to 7 of them to get sort of a perfect score in the game. So let me go ahead and walk you through what those are. They may not make complete sense yet until you understand how the game plays, but it will give you an idea of what I'm aiming for as I walk through the game itself. So first, let's take a look at the random cards that we've been chosen this game. This one says I need to have at least 5 times player count. This is solo, so I need to have at least 5 senior specialists. And looking at the specialist tiles here, they all start on this blue side as a junior specialist, and later on through game abilities, we're going to flip them to the senior specialist side. And we're going to be taking one of these each round. So I'm going to have 7 added to my hand by the end of the game, and I need to have at least 5 of them be senior specialists. Now it is worth mentioning that the team leader that we start with is a senior specialist, so I really need to only recruit or upgrade 4 more specialists into senior specialists. Next goal, zone of depths 3, 4, 5, says 1 times player count plus 1. So I need, plus 3. So I need to make sure I have at least 1 plus 3 or 4 different zones that are at least depth 3. So 3, 4, or 5 depth, I need to have at least 4 of them. So I need to be going down deep in this game. Sorry, that's a mistake. That says maximum 1 plus 3. So I don't want to go deep in this game. I can only have 4 or fewer of those depths. It says co-op goal shallow. So I don't want to be going down deep in this game, which might be nice for me to fit things on the screen. Next, co-op goal research. I need to have 6 of these research or DNA available in my supply at the end of the game. And you'll see how that works. That's what this tracker down here is tracking. And we're going to be spending those on these journals and also on conservation activities that we do throughout the game. But again, at the end of the game, if I want to pass this goal, I need to have 6 left available to me. And then the mission-specific goals I need to do. This one says sonar discs in columns B and C. So in this column and in this column, I need to have at least 6 sonar discs. And again, I'll explain what these mean as we get into gameplay, but remembering in these 2 columns, 6 sonar discs. Next, in columns D and E, means these 2 empty columns right now, I need to have at the end of the game at least 6 of my discs and or my research vessels, my ships, in those areas. And then finally, the third goal for this is in depths 2, 3, and 4, so in those 3 rows, we need to have at least 1 disc in 6 or more zones. So 6 or more different locations have to have at least 1 of my discs, and it has to be only 2, 3, or 4, not all the way down and not all the way up. And then finally it says here, it's a little bit dark and maybe hard to see, I need to score at least 9 points from this track and from these level 5 specialists that give me extra scoring bonus. So now let's get into how all of that works and how I'm going to accomplish all of those 7 goals. Rather than try and teach you everything right at the start, I'm going to walk through the first round explaining each step, and then I'll explain sort of all of the actions and all of the things that we can do as I get into that step where the actions will be taken. So the first step of every round is going to be recruiting a specialist onto my board, and that's going to be reflected in this first orange track, which is called my reputation track. And we're going to take a look at the reputation track, and depending on which section of the reputation track I am in, I can recruit a specialist up to the level that it shows in that section. So right now I can only recruit level 1 specialists, but if I was here I could recruit up to level 2, here up to 3, here up to 4, and here all the way up to level 5. And when we recruit a specialist, there's sort of 2 or 3 things that we're going to be taking a look on each of these tiles. Now first off, this circle here is where I'm going to be placing a disc later to activate the action of that specialist. But first, whatever's printed here on the left side is going to be an immediate thing that I receive, and whatever's printed here on the right side is going to be the action that's triggered when I use that specialist. You'll also see this gold bar down here shows some information. That information is exactly what it shows on the other side of the tile. And the other side of the tile is what's going to happen when I upgrade them to a senior specialist, again, receiving instantly whatever it shows on the left and being able to use whatever it shows on the right by placing a disc on that tile. So for the most part, the thing that you're going to see on the left side here is going to be a symbol of one of the 4 tracks on my board, and simply I'm going to move one space to the right for every symbol that I see. The other thing that you are seeing on this tile right here is this sort of star hex symbol, and what that means is I can place one cube out on this impact board. And when I place a cube to start, I have to place a cube on one of the spaces that are pointed to by these 3 arrows right here, here, or here. And from that point, I can continue to place on one of those arrow spots or adjacent to a location that I've already placed. And whenever I place out, I simply do whatever it shows. Now again, each of the colored circles is simply moving up on a track. These DNA symbols are moving up on my research track a number of spaces equal to the number of DNA on that space. And anytime you see this sort of gray circle with a plus mark on it, you're going to be adding one more of those activation discs from your supply to your player board. In addition, you see these yellow hexes and orange hexes. Those are going to be how we score points at the end of the game. And remember, one of our goals is to score at least 9 points. Any yellow hex with our cube on it will score me 1 point at the end of the game, and any orange hex will score me 2 points at the end of the game. So right now I can recruit one of these 3 recruits. This one gets me an impact board and will be a move action. This one gets me a yellow track, which is the coordination track, which I'll explain in a minute, but coordination track is going to be how many of my specialists I can refresh each round. And this orange one we already talked about is reputation, which will boost the ability to get higher level specialists. This gets me a sonar action. This gets me a dive action, and we definitely need some sonar stuff this game. Diving, you'll see in a minute, is how I get a lot of research ability and often sometimes bonus abilities as well. So right now, I think I might focus on this sonar track because we will need to start doing some sonar actions, and I'll explain again why in a minute, but I'm going to take that specialist, which means I move up my yellow track 1 space. Then following turn, we move down to the next spot, which says those activation discs, and this time we're looking at our green inspiration track. And the inspiration track is going to tell me how many discs I get each round, and that's again based on the section that we have reached on that track, being 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5 discs. So in this case, I only take 1 because we're in the first section. Then moving down is the refresh action, and the refresh is going to allow us to take these discs off of specialists that we used in a previous round. And again, only up to a number of discs depending on our track, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So currently 1, but I only have 1 anyway, so that's great. So that comes off like this. And now we move into sort of the main phase of the round, and that is taking actions. And you'll see that the taking actions is connected to this ingenuity track, although the ingenuity track really only refers to our ability to move. But that's great because that's going to be the first action we're going to talk about. Now, to show you all of the available actions, the team leader is the one specialist that actually has every action available to them, which is going to be move, sonar, dive, conservation, and journaling. So let's walk through what each of those different actions mean. Now again, in order to activate any of these actions, I'm going to need to place a disc on a specialist that has that action available to them. But again, at the start of the game, the team leader, well, throughout the game, the team leader has the ability to do any one action. So the move action, or travel action as it's actually called, is if I trigger the travel action by placing a disc, I can select one of my boats or one of my vessels out on the board, and I can move that vessel a number of spaces orthogonally equal to the number of sort of icon, gear-shaped icons I have below my final cube. In this case, we only have 1, so we can only move 1 space. That number of gears is also going to tell us the maximum depth that we're allowed to sort of go to. So in this case, we can only move one space and we can only stay in level 1 depth. We cannot go down to level 2 until I've sort of moved my cube up to this level 2. And again, once I got to this level 2, that also means for a move action, I can move up to 2 spaces. In addition, anytime I cross into this spot or this spot, we will instantly add that new vessel into that launch space. And anytime we put a vessel into a launch space or move a vessel into a new location, we will instantly be taking whatever that bonus is that's marked in that sort of movement location space on that location. The next action available to us is a sonar action. And a sonar action, we need to be on the lookout for this sonar symbol on a location. So if our vessel is on a location that has sonar available to it, when we use the sonar action, first of course placing the disc on that specialist to activate it, we will then need to place a second disc on the leftmost position of any available sonar track on that tile. And I say any available because on a tile like this one, there's actually 2 different sonar tracks. So for this case, if I chose to do a sonar action on this tile right now, I could choose this one or this one. And in the case that I chose this one, it would be simply to add one on my green track and take one on my research track. But anything that you see here that shows cards with a range of numbers means that's how we're going to be exploring new locations on the sort of map board. And what we're going to do is we're going to draw 2 tiles from any stack that matches the numbers here. So for here example, it's 1 to 2. I could draw 2 level 1s, 2 level 2s, or 1 level 1 and 1 level 2. And from those drawn tiles, I'm going to choose only one of them to place out on my player area. Again, here this 3+ means any combination of 2 tiles level 3, 4, or 5. And it's worth mentioning that it's okay for us to place out tiles that are at a depth that we can't currently get to. We just can't move to them until we've advanced this track far enough to get that deep. And then any tile that we don't choose to place will just simply be placed at the bottom of the stack where we drew it from. And then that tile will be placed out into our player area. And the way that that's going to work is any level 1 tile can fill in an available slot. So here or here could be level 1. But level 2, 3, 4, or 5 must be placed directly below a tile that's already been played out. So for example, if I drew a level 2 tile right now, I could not place it here or here because there is no level 1 tile supporting it. Instead, I could place it here or here. Likewise, if I had a level 3 tile currently, I could only place it here because none of the other level 3 are connected to anything else. And then once that tile is played out, you will see here up in the top left corner of that tile, this is going to be a placement bonus, and you'll instantly receive that when you place the tile out into the display. The next available action is the dive action, and the dive action is going to be related to those tokens that we put out during setup. If your vessel is at a location that has the dive action available, you'll simply take the top token from that stack and add it to your player board. Now during your turn you can have as many as you want, but at the end of a turn you can only hold one of those tokens into the following round. And those tokens, here let me show you one from the bottom of a stack that we likely won't get to. Those tokens are generally going to have an option of an amount of research to add to your research track or some other kind of bonus that could be triggered instead. So you're going to choose one of those to activate when you choose to activate that token. And that could be any time in the future, but remember you can only carry one of them over into the following round. The next action is the conservation action. And unfortunately there are no tiles out right now that have that available to us. So let me go down deep to a place where I'm not likely to get to, and I will shuffle these back up, but let me just show you. Here is the conservation action, any space that's marked with one of these turtles. And the way that works is when you trigger the conservation action by placing a disc on one of your specialists, you will then also place another disc on one of these available locations. And it doesn't matter which place you place, the only thing is you must be able to pay the research cost of that location to place a disc on there. And you'll see here and in other various locations on the board, these sort of chains in between places. And this is going to be true for some sonar actions, for some conservation actions, and you'll see also for journaling actions later. Anytime I've placed something on both spaces on either side of that chain, I will then also receive whatever that chain bonus is. So then the final action available to us is the journaling action. And the journaling action, we can see right here. On the board, you will see these spaces with a journal that also have some kind of colored symbol on the space as well. And what that means is when I place a disc on the specialist to activate the journaling action, I will also place a disc on that space. And that is how we interact with the cards in this display right here. We can only activate a card that matches the color of the location that we're playing. So at this yellow location, I could only activate these two cards that show this yellow. And it's worth mentioning that if you see two colors like this one here, either one of them will work. You don't need to have both of them on the space. So for that yellow space, I could take this card or this card. But in order to do so, I will have to pay whatever the research cost is in this top right corner. And these cards will have a variety of different things printed on them, but most of them will have a lightning bolt symbol like this, which is an instant bonus that you get when you take the card. These will not be meaningful in the solo mode because this is what every other player would do in a multiplayer game. And then some of them, which we don't have here that I will show as they come out, will also have a sort of recurring ability that you can use once per round, or some other kind of ability that is helpful later on when, for example, if you use a specific action, you get some kind of bonus and so on. But again, I'll show that to you as we get into play. But also, this is where you're going to find the symbol to upgrade your specialist from junior to senior. So anytime you see this symbol, you can choose one of your available junior specialists, flipping them over to the senior side. And it's worth mentioning that if they have an activation disc on them, when you flip them to the senior side, that disc will simply go back to the supply. So that's basically the sort of rundown of how the game plays. Hopefully it becomes a whole lot clearer as I get into my actions right now. Again, we can only activate actions by placing discs from our current hand or current available discs onto specialists. And these specialists will only refresh up to a number of discs based on my yellow track. So as we play these, we'll be filling up with discs, and we may or may not be able to use them again on future rounds unless we start being able to refresh them by advancing this yellow track and or start adding new discs by advancing this green track. But I think a lot of that will become a whole lot clearer as I get into gameplay. So let me go ahead and take my first actions for this first round. All right, then finally, before I get into my actions, I just want to remind what we need to get done over here. At least 9 points on this board or from advanced specialists. At least 5 senior specialists. So I need to be flipping a lot. Not so much depth. At least 6 leftover research, which that's probably going to be the hardest one to do. We need to have at least 6 sonars in these 2 columns. We need to have at least 6 things, means either ships or discs, in these last 2 columns. So I do need to start exploring over here. And I need to have at least 6 things or 6 discs in 6 different locations in 2, 3, and 4. And remember, 3, 4, and 5 is not great for us, so I want to focus lots on 2s where possible. But right now I'll have available to me is a sonar action and 1 of anything. And if I move, that means all I can do is sonar this turn. So I think what I'm going to do this turn is I'm going to dive, which means I take this top dive token, which doesn't have an option, but that's fine. This is what I'd love to have. That gets me 4 spaces on my research track. And I'm going to use that immediately to bump that up to 4. And then I'm going to use a sonar action with the other person, which means I place this out on the leftmost sonar space, which says 1 to 2. And right now, either of those is fine. So I'm actually going to take 1 of each, 1 and 2. So here, level 2 gives me lots of sonar options. Would give me a yellow and a blue if I place this out now. And when I move there, it gives me a disc. Lots of chain potential for more discs. Lots of activations there. This one, level 1, would get me a green and a disc right now. It gets me a 4 dive spot and a tiny little sonar space. And every time I go there, it gets me yellow. And I think right now, because if I get 1 more yellow instantly, that means in the next turn, I will get both of those discs back. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to take this level 2 tile. Means I'll place the level 1 back at the bottom of the stack like this. And then that means this level 2 can go here or here. No reason to place it far away right now. I will simply place it in that space right there, like that. And then I get 1 yellow and 1 blue. So this goes to level 2. This is still on the second spot of level 1. And that's the end of the first round. You'll see the rounds do get a little bit longer as we go in because we will have more specialists to activate. But we go back to the beginning, means recruit a specialist. Again, I can only recruit from this first column. I don't really want more sonar right now. An extra dive might be not a bad idea to start getting lots of research possibility. Plus that gets me this, which would potentially give me the ability to recruit better stuff moving forward. Again, I don't need another sonar right now, and another yellow is not super helpful instantly. This one would allow me to place out on the board getting research or green potential, but that's just a movement action, which I kind of already have ability or options for. Then I think what I'm gonna do is I will take the diver like that. Means that gets boosted 1. Then discs, we still only get 1 because we're still at the beginning of the green track. Yellow, we're at level 2, so both of these come back to me like that. And now we take our actions. I definitely want to move because nothing is happening in this top corner. Here. So we need column B, C, columns D, E, and down. So this turn, we're going to do things a little bit differently. I don't love it. Okay, because we're not going to have... Oh, we will. Okay, then I'm going to dive with the new guy, which gets me either 4 research or 1 of any track boost. That changes things a little bit. I'm going to do a sonar, and I'm going to have to do a move. Yeah, but you know what? One of my things is to have lots of research. I'm just going to instantly cash that in for 4 research. 1, 2, 3, 4. That may or may not be a smart thing to do, but that's okay for me right now. Ah, wait a minute. No, it's not. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm not going to be getting red from anything this turn. Probably. Let me hold on to that just in case. Let's see what happens. I might use that to boost the red so I can recruit a better specialist next turn. Then I am, you know what? I'm not moving this turn after all. Because, that's not good. I'm out of pieces. Yeah, okay, I'm going to take a journaling action. Hold on, this is not going to be good. Because I don't have the pieces I need for sonar. But that's okay. I don't need anything in this space. I need 1 more disc to do anything. If I journal now, then I can't do that. Yeah, you know what? I'm going to use this for blue instead. Because that's going to instantly push that and get me this boat. I really wanted to do it that way instead. Ah, hold on. Yeah. Don't do that. I'm journaling. So I'm going to place that there, which lets me take my first journal action. This one is brown, which matches this space here, so I will do that and take this card. This card is just an instant and then nothing else, so I get 2 levels on blue, which gets me that boat. And I will have to place that on a launch, which gets me 1 more of those. And I get my first upgrade. So I'm going to upgrade this one because this allows me to move and sonar. And then I'm going to take that move action and move 1 of these 2 spaces up to a depth of 2, remembering that I'm looking to do things in columns B and C and in 2, 3, 4. So I'm going to move down here, which gets me 1 more disc like that. And that is the end of the second round. Also, I should replace this card here. And here you can see one of those one use. So this means once per round, I can tap the card to instantly raise my red level 1 spot. And unfortunately, we did not get this boosted. So we're still at level 1, which is sad, because there's no way for me to do more than that. But I better start working on this track here, or we're going to be in trouble at the end. And having an extra move action that also boosts green and yellow later is not a bad thing. So I'm going to take him, which places 1 out here. Now, I want to... sorry, I just realized, my mistake. When I took this journal card, I should have paid 3. So 1, 2, 3 like that. And one more thing. I'm using this to boost the red. So now maybe I'm not taking them after all. Now I am in level 2. This boosts green gets a move in sonar. This gets move in conservation, which I don't have any of, but doesn't boost anything right now. Double blue right now is not really helpful because I'm not going that deep and I'm not rushing for another boat. Having another sonar, since we need more sonar discs, is not a bad idea. So let me take that one, which is boosting green 1 level. Then green is still just 1, so we get 1. And now this is a case where only 2 of them are refreshing. So I don't really care about the dive as much as, as the other 2. So these 2 come back like that. Is that true? Hold on. Do I need double sonar? No, because I won't have enough stuff. So actually, this one comes off like that. Okay, then we take our actions. I don't like the fact that the journals are here. I need to do stuff over here. So I am going to sonar first. Placing on there, placing on the first sonar here, which is 1 to 3. And again, I'm going to draw a 1 and a 2. The 1 is a nice journal space that gets me a green and an extra disc now, blue when I go there, and also diving. This is also green and blue. It gets me extra greens when I go there, and that's super conservation. Right now I don't have super conservation. I'm going to aim for this level 1 because a green is nice because it gets me more discs next round, and an additional disc right now lets me do some other stuff. So let me put that there. This one goes away like that, which gets me a green and 1 more disc. Then, kind of already regret keeping the dive and not the other sonar. That was a mistake, but I'll stick with it. So the the diver gets to dive. So I take the next one of these, which is 3 or one of my impact board pieces. Right now, I need this so I can do something cool on the next turn. So I'm getting 1, 2, 3 of those because I'm going to journal. And I'm going to take this one. I can only do yellow, so this, or this. This one lets me conserve right away, but there's no conservation to happen. This one's going to keep letting me boost this for the next bunch of rounds. So I'm going to do that. Journaling here at the yellow space, taking this one, and I'll leave that here so we can see. No, you know what? I'll just keep it here so we can see. First, I'm going to be able to upgrade someone. This one will upgrade and get me another red, which gets me a diver or a journal. This one won't get me anything when it flips, but it gets me an action that does both sonar and dive at the same time. And that might not be a bad thing to have. I'd love to have another red to get up 1 more level here to recruit some more. But I just realized also, sorry, this should have diving on it. Yeah, you know what? I'm going to do that just so I can get the level up. This diver becomes a diver and journal like that, which gets me 1 red, and I will use this for this round to do that. So we are at level 3. We're out of discs. That's the end of the turn, or of the round. This resets, and we move to the next round. So now we're level 3. I can take from anything here and over. And I need more sonar stuff, for sure, because sonaring is going to be important. And this is sonar and journal, which we have lots of potential options for, except that means I need to start getting more discs. This one will get me more discs right now, because it'll boost this twice to get level 3. And it's journal or turtle conservation. We don't have any conservation right now, but that's a good way to get more discs out, to start working on these two things later. I think that's the answer. Yeah, let me take that one like that, which boosts this twice. So now I do get 3 discs for that. 1, 2, 3. Yellow is still refreshing 2, so I'm going to take this one, and I'm going to take this one, because potentially I can upgrade this to get that off of there. Anyway, yes. Then we move into our actions. I need to do some moving. I need to do some exploring of things. Don't care about diving currently. But I do think, again, I forgot to pay for this card. So we got to go 1, 2, 3 back to there. Because I did get 3 from that, and 4 from that is 7. Minus 6 should be 1. I don't think I got any other DNA. No, I did not. Okay, then. I don't have any DNA. Get some here. Hold on, we should have one more card out there. This one will let me flip, and then if I do sonar that's not exploration, I get more stuff. Okay. Well, in any case, I kind of need to dive. So we're going to do this. I'm going to move. It doesn't matter which of these I use, because they're both movement, and this gives me more flexibility. So let's use her to move here, which gets me 1 research. And then I'm journaling. Doesn't matter which one. There. Which is going to... it does matter, because it doesn't really. I'm journaling. I'm going to place here to take this brown one, which gets me this for 1 research, which lets me flip somebody over. And I'm going to flip over this one right here, like that. Doesn't get me anything, but now this is a sonar and dive, which is cool, but we don't have any sonar and dive spaces currently. Then I'm going to sonar and dive. That's a mistake. Oh well. If I still had somebody there, I could have sonar and dove like that. But yeah, you know what? I'm going to do this. If I move this boat here, I get another action token. And then I can activate sonar and dive. Means dive gets me this, which is 4 research. I'll take it. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then I am sonaring here, which gets me a green and a research. And then if I use this, because the reward was not exploration, I get 1 more research. And I'll use this before the round ends to get 1 more red. And that is the end of round 4. And we're already at 4 of these guys. Sonar in columns B and C, I've got 2. I need to explore way more of this down here, because I've only got 1 disc out. And I need to rush all the way over here. So I need to start focusing there and start moving my boats over. But let's see what happens. This gets refreshed. Ooh, double green is nice to have. That's expensive though. All right, these both refresh like that and like that. I don't really want another marine biologist, but, that gets me extra green, which gets me extra discs, which is not a bad thing right now. Although this sonar and journal at the same time is pretty cool. I need to focus on sonar more, much more sonar. Okay, then I need discs. And I only have 2 coming back. I need to boost blue as well, though. So I can go farther away. Huh. This is tricky. All right. Yeah. I'm going to take this move and dive, actually. We'll see how that helps me out. I get 3 discs like this. 1, 2, 3. Then I refresh 2, which is definitely my free guy. And I need more sonar, so sonar dive is a good thing to do. Okay, then I'm going to move and dive. Because that means this person goes 1, 2 to here, which increases blue 1. So now I'm at level 3 blue. And they're diving. So I get a journal action or 3 things. I'm going to use that for a journal action right away. Because I can take green or brown, and green is good to have. That one does this, gets me 2 of these, which gets me to level 4, and lets me flip somebody. I'm going to flip this last one here, because they've already been activated, gets me 2 of this, pushing me to the next level. And now this says that anytime I take a conservation action, I can take another conservation action in the same row or column as if the cost was 0. I don't know that I'm ever going to make use of that, but we'll see what happens. Oops. Okay. Then I'm going to do a sonar dive, but not yet. I need to move here, getting another disc. Now I'm going to do a sonar dive. So we'll dive here, which gets me 3 research. Hold on, I didn't pay the 4 for this. 1, 2, 3, 4. 3 research or a thing on here. I want a thing on there. I'd like to place on yellow to hope that maybe I can get to a new level of yellow. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I've finished that senior specialist. This one is almost guaranteed to get because I'm not going that deep. Then I'm sonaring over here, connecting like that, which gets me 1 more disc and is giving me a 3+. So I have to draw 3 or higher. I'm taking 3. I'll take 2 of them. This one gives me lots of journaling with double red, which I don't really want right now. And this one gets me double blue with all kinds of stuff. This is sonar level 3, but lets me place 3 that's not underneath something. This says when I move out of this location, I get an additional 1 movement. And there's a bunch of sonar potential with goodies, and goodies get me extra goodies. So I'm going to put that one out like that, which boosts blue twice. It's not quite enough, but that's okay. That goes like this. Then I've got dive and I've got journal. Hold on, we need a new card out. It's not brown. The only journal action I have available to me right now is brown, unfortunately. So I can't use that journal. We don't have any conservation spaces out, at least not that I'm on. But I might as well use this dive conservation to get this dive. Ooh, this was a very nice draw. Because this is 3 research or a free sonar. I'm doing a free sonar action right away. And I will do here 1 to 3. And we will take 2 level 2s. Like this. This one gets me a sonar action and a dive, which is cool because I have that sonar dive person. And this lets me draw 2 dive tokens and keep one that I like, discarding the other one. Blue and green. Blue would get me a boat right now, which is cool. Green, nothing, but that's nice to have. Blue and red doesn't really work any better. This one says if I dive, I can move, somebody else can move, but that's not really helping me. Yeah, I'm gonna take this one, the shipwreck, place it there. Like that. gets me a blue and a green. So green goes up 1, blue goes up 1, getting me level 4 and another boat, which goes to the launch zone and gets me another disc like that. And I don't have any other abilities available to me, except that I will tap this one just to get that extra one. Red, and this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5th round, so we have 2 rounds left. This refreshes. Let me go back to the beginning. I can recruit up to level 4. Sonar and journal, double move, or a move. Hold on, you can't see that. A move and a conservation. This gets me 2 research. I like this oceanographer, gets me 1 of everything, which is very nice to have. Where can you see that? I'll place that sideways here so it fits on the screen. Actually, you know what? Forget it. We're not moving that far over here. I'll slide everything down like this. Put that there. And I get 1 of everything. 1, 1, 1, and 1, which is great because that pushed the yellow one over. Now green gets me 4 discs this turn. 1, 2, 3, 4. I get to take back 3 of them. Definitely dive sonar. Definitely anything I want to. Dive conservation, I don't care because I don't conserve. I need more sonars, I think. All right, then let me set this away. All right, then I'm actually going to start using some white tokens to mark off stuff here. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 senior specialists already, so that one is successfully completed. Right now, I only have 1 depth 3 or lower. So for right now, that's completed. Leftover research, I don't know. We'll check that at the end. Sonar discs in columns B and C. Here and here, I've got 4. I need 6, so I'm going to put out 4 little white cubes here so we can keep track of that. I need 2 more of those before the end. Columns D and E right now, I have a boat and I have 1 thing. So I need 4 more there. And then zone 2, 3, or 4, I've only got 1 and I need 6. So I need to start filling in stuff here badly. And I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is my 6th round. So I've got 2 more rounds to take care of that stuff. Then let's start doing exactly that. Hold on, before that, here we should have 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 dive tokens. And then I need to definitely some sonaring. I wouldn't mind a journal action to get some stuff, but not right now. B and C for sonar, 2 more. All right, then I'm going to spend an action to move. It doesn't really matter which one. Ooh, that's a problem. I need more movement or a journal that's brown. This is not cool. 2, 3, 4 depth. Okay, so we can, that works towards this too. Okay, so I'm going to move using this one. First, we're gonna move here, which is gonna move me here. Now, I mentioned before that this star should be there. So by moving in there, I get to place 1 of these out. And I'm going to go this way to get closer to these points, I think. Yeah. So we'll do that, getting 1 yellow level. Then I'm going to sonar and dive. So dive means I take the top 2 of these, gets me either 3 or an action disc. Let me hold on to that to see what I need. The other one goes away. That was my dive, and my sonar goes here, gets me another yellow and a research, like that. And I immediately use this one again to get 1 more research like that. And also by sonaring there, I did just get a 5th sonar in section B and C. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we're only 1 away from that. Column D and E is not great, but let me do this. I'm going to move this boat here, which gets me another green, which gets me a star and next level. That goes here and gets me 1 more research, up to 6. And then I'm going to take a journaling action right there. The yellow one, I think. Oh, hold on. Blue's gonna get me a movement and a flip. Hold on, I didn't use this journal, I used this journal instead. You'll see why in a minute. Blue's gonna get me a movement and a flip. Yeah, let's do that. So we're going blue. Now this is row 2, 3, 4, so I get another one here. Per zone, 1, 2, I've got 3 of those now. Good. And that means I spend 2 here to get this blue, which lets me flip 1. It's going to flip this one right here, which gets me 2 more stars. So I place 2 more out over here, and I'll do an extra disc and an extra research. 1, 2, like that. And a movement I get now. A movement. Don't really want another movement right this second. No, let's say I did, forget it. Let's say I did this yellow one first, because that gets me an extra disc. Yes, that's fine. And then I do this journal, which gets me the blue one now for another 2 research. Flipping this one like that, and a movement. So now I'm going to start moving far away. I can move up to 4 spaces away. I need to get over here to do something. But I also need to do more sonar in column B and C. Just one more though. Yeah, I'm coming all the way over here. 1, 2, 3, 4 here gets me 1 more blue. And that is that, because there's no conservation possibility. I will turn this just to move that up 1 like that. These reset. Whoops, these should get refilled. Ooh, there's a brown one, which could be nice to have, because that means there's a journal, and that gets me another disc in column there. Speaking of which, we have a boat there now, so that's 3. And that's the end of round 6. So we move into round 7. I can take anything I want to. And I've got some cool options in this final round. This one's going to get me 2 yellow and let me flip 2, but there's nothing to flip. But this gets me 1 point for every senior specialist I have, and I've got all senior specialists. So that's worth a lot of points. And this one gets me a yellow with double dives and a journal, which is less important to me. And I don't really need lots of boats. Yeah, let me take this double yellow. My final specialist is that one. And then I get 2 yellows, which is great because now I can refresh 4 discs. And then I get 5 green level. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, like that. Good. I can refresh 4 of these. I don't care about the dive conservation, so these 4 get refreshed. Like that. Oops, that's upside down. And we move into our final round. What do I need? I need 1 more sonar. I need 3 more things in this row or this row. And don't think that's gonna happen. I need 3 more things in these 2 columns. And that's a problem too. And I'm going to retcon things, and I apologize, but this got me a blue and this gets me a blue, and I didn't take anything after I moved there. So I'm going to stop there instead, because I need to use that sonar to do this. Okay, then we will sonar and dive. Diving here gets me an extra sonar in 3 or an extra placement in 3. I'm going to take the extra sonar in 3 and use it instantly to do another sonar. So I'm doing 2 sonars right now. Actually, you know what? Let me hold on to that just so I don't forget. Because one of the sonars is triggered from what I just did. And I will do this 1 to 2 right here, drawing double 2s. There's a big, crazy conservation and journaling kind of space that gets me red and yellow. And here is another sonar and journaling space that gets me red and yellow. I have a double conservation person, and I'm not using them at all. So I'm going to put that there because I need extra spaces in D and E, for this one, which can absolutely happen there. Cool. And I get a red and a yellow for that. Red goes up 1, yellow goes up 1. Then I am going to take my second free sonar action by spending that. And I want more stuff over here, but 2 or 3 doesn't matter. So I will do this 3 plus here to take 2 3s. Hold on, let me make sure that's fine. Yeah, I have plenty of space. Sonars and journals or conservation. I will take this one, getting a yellow and a blue. Ooh, that's nice, because that, watch this. If I put that for yellow and blue, I get a yellow across, which gets me a star, and a blue across, which gets me a star. So I place 2 more of these. And I'll place 1 on this red space, because that's going to loop back now and get me another placement. And I might as well, it's the last round, place on this orange and this orange. We're going to score lots of points anyway, but that's that. Then, moving. Wait, hold on, let me evaluate first. Sonars at B and C. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We have completed that one, like that. Because I needed 6. Vessels and things in column D and E, we're back to only 2. Yes. Then ocean zones in the second, third, or fourth, I've got 3. Yeah, it's very unlikely we're getting 6. At least 1 disk. Yeah, I don't think so. Okay, then, moving. I don't need any more sonar per se, so we're going to move that one. And this guy is coming here, gets me 1 research. And then I will take the double conservation action to 0 and 4, 2 and 2, 2 and 1. The cheapest I've got. Ah, this is cool. Okay. So if I put that there for 0, I get 1 red. And then I can use this, it says, to activate another one in the same row or column as if the cost was 0. Well, the same card should be the same row or column, so that goes there for free instead of 4. So I get 1 more red and a star and another star for completing the chain. So that gets me 2 more of these. So I'm going to place on green and this research. So 1 more research, 1 more green. And then I still get my original second conservation from here. I might as well do a cheap one. For 1 research like that, I get to place out 1 more star, and I'm going to take a double research like this, 6, 7. Now, in columns D and E, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Look at that. As long as nothing changes, that is happy. And I need, sorry, that's the wrong thing. That's the zones. This is happy. Zone 2, 3, 4, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 only. So I need to find a way to get disks here and here. But that can't happen because I don't have any more movement. So there's no way for me to get both of those having things on them. In fact, I only have 1 more movement left. And a journal right now is not super important to me. The only way I could potentially get... The problem is there's no conservation on any of these, because I have a card that could potentially get me up to 1 zone away. Conservation. But that only works if I had a thing here. I don't have any more sonar actions left, and I'm not in a location with any more sonar actions either. So that doesn't matter. I'm also not convinced that I didn't forget to spend more research along the way somewhere. So at this point, there's not much else for me to do. This can do anything I want it to, but there's nothing I really want it to. I'm going to use this one to wrap there to place one more here, which doesn't really matter, but I'll do that. No, I'm going to do that just to make sure I have enough of those, because I can spend that as well to go back up 1, 2, 3 more. And then just because I will dive, see what I get here. Upgrade or 4 more stuff. So I'll hold on to that. Take a journaling action because I can. And that gets me this green one because it can, which takes this for 3 points. Sorry, 3 research. Gets me a disc and flips somebody. So I will flip this one, which means I don't need this one anymore. I might as well spend it for 1, 2, 3, 4, blah. And there's nowhere else for me to put discs. That is the end of the game. So let's go back through and make sure I got everything. Senior Specialist 5 at least. I've got all 8, so that's a yes. Zones of Depth 3, 4, and 5. I only have 2. I could have 4. That's safe. 6 research easily. Sonars in columns B and C. B and C are these 2. Sonar 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 is more than 6. Good. And then unfortunately zones at depth 2, 3, or 4 with a disc is just 1, 2, 3, 4. I didn't complete that. Points here. I've got following 1 for yellow and 2 for orange. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Plus I get 1 point for each specialist that's not this one. So 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 definitely clears that score of 9. So I finished the game having completed 6 of my 7 scoring goals. And then just to show you how it works, consulting the chart at the back of the rulebook, it says with 6 goals complete, I have finished with a resounding success. So that's basically it for the gameplay. I did do fairly well. I didn't get a perfect game in, but it was very close. Now I'd like to take a look at the components while I'm here. Again, this is prototype. Everything is subject to change. But the look of this game is wonderful. I love the character design on all of the tiles. I'll hold this up close for you to see all the different designs. The iconography in here is very, very clear, very easy to understand, makes me very, very happy. This tray is super, super, super useful. I wasn't going to talk about the inserts yet, but I know that a tray like this will be in the actual game when it's pushed. And it's really good. Now, one thing I do want to point out, because it's really important to me and it's really, really cool, is this tray right here is plastic, but the tray that's coming with the actual game will not be plastic. It's actually going to be a kind of a pressed paper kind of material. Everything that they're using for this campaign as much as possible is sustainable and green, and I'm very, very happy, and I applaud them for all of the green initiatives they're doing for this game. Definitely check out the campaign page. There's a lot more information about that if you're interested. Wooden things I can't really comment on because these aren't what they're going to look like in the final game. But again, all of the iconography, all of the design of everything is very clear, very easy to understand. Very happy with all of the card design, all of the space design. And then finally, the last thing is this sort of display of the waters that I'm searching through. It looks gorgeous. I mean, some of the pictures don't line up perfectly because it's designed so that anything can go anywhere. But just this idea that I'm building this sort of world as I play through, I really do love that. The darkness of the water is sort of getting darker and darker as you go down. I mean, here's a 4, here's a 5. You can see it does really transition very nicely moving down. It just looks really cool as you're playing. So big thumbs up from me for that. With that said, let's head back up top and I'll let you know what I think about the game itself. Welcome back. I hope you enjoyed the playthrough. I'm just going to start right here by saying this one is tricky for me. I don't really know how to start talking about this one because there's so much going on here. But let me just come out and say, first off, I really enjoy this game quite a bit. And now I'm just going to sort of ramble through my thoughts and my feelings and exactly what it is about this game that excites me as much as it does. Now, this game has a whole lot going on, right? It is a round by round almost worker placement style game, meaning that I am going to locations, activating actions at those locations to get stuff. But the difference here is exactly how that works, because I'm not just taking a piece and placing it on that location. I have to physically go to that location to do the thing that's happening at that location. And that's not where it ends, because at the beginning of the game, or at the beginning of each play at least, the map has very few tiles, and there are very few locations for me to go to and activate. And in fact, many of the locations that I'm going to and activating are things that only activate once and then are blocked off. So a large majority of this game is exploration. It's me finding new locations that have new actions that then can be activated to do what it is that need to be done at that place. But it's not even that simple, because the real core mechanism of this game is the recruitment of specialists, or basically tableau building in your own personal player area, that give you access to these actions that you're going to do at these locations once you've found the locations and built the map and gotten to locations to do those things. So there's this super huge, I don't want to say huge, but super long chain of sort of interconnected things that need to happen for everything to happen in this game, but there's a wide breadth of things that can be done and ways to get them done. Many of your specialists have more than one action that they're capable of doing, and most of the map cards have multiple things that you can do at that location. So it's not like you're running around the map constantly looking for that one thing that can be triggered. And as you're playing through this game, you're building the specialists and you're getting access to more and more of these potential actions, and then upgrading them to give you sort of double actions or more powerful actions or chain-connected kinds of things that you do. And as the game goes on, each round becomes longer and longer because you're able to do more things on those rounds. But again, ultimately, you're going to locations to dive for goodies, right? Do these journaling actions to recruit these cards or grab these cards that increase tracks. I didn't even talk about the tracks yet, but I'll get to that in just a second. Increase tracks and level up your specialists. You're going to do conservation activities that also level up these tracks and give you other kinds of stuff. And now both of those conservation activities and these journaling activities that you're doing require research points that you have to get through diving and through other means. And then finally, I kind of talked about this in the wrong order, because the last thing you can do is the sonar action, which is how you're sort of searching the ocean to find these locations that you can get to. And again, if that sounds like a complicated chain of events, I'm not even done there, because then there are 4 tracks. And one track is going to dictate which kinds of specialists I can recruit that give me different kinds of actions to recruit those specialists that allow me to do those actions at those locations when I trigger them, when I go to those locations. The next thing I need is, it's not even as simple as having the specialist that activates the action at the location. I also need action or activation discs, basically, that I place on my specialist to activate specialist. And then some of the activities that they do require me to place another disc out on a space on the map, as I mentioned before, basically clearing off or closing off that space so you can't do it again at that location later. But if I don't have those 2 discs, I can't take that activity. So I need to figure out a way to make discs. So the second track is a way for me to make discs every round. But then it doesn't even end there, because the third track now is allowing me to use those specialists again in the future, because once I place a disc on that specialist, it stays there. It's locked in, and that specialist does nothing again until basically they rest and get their energy back to do the next thing one more time in the following round. And at the beginning of every round, based on that third track, tells me how many of those specialists can rest and are able to be used again in the following round. So you have to worry about making sure your specialist is usable, not only just having the specialist, but making sure they're usable, making sure you have discs to activate them, making sure you have discs to activate the space that you want to activate, making sure you're physically at the space that you want to activate. And then finally, the fourth track is how much you can move. Not just how far, but how deep. If you want to go down further into the depths where there are bigger, more powerful potential things, you need to be able to upgrade your ship to the point that it can go down that deep. And while you're upgrading your ship to go down that deep, it's also extending your range to move from one place to another. So if you do want to start moving around the map to further locations to get more things done, you need to unlock those tracks. And each of those tracks is upgraded by other things that you've done on other tracks. Each of those tracks is upgraded by the different actions you're taking on the board. And it sounds like a whole lot of stuff going on and a whole lot of stuff to take care of, but realistically, while you're playing, it really isn't. really, it works so well together that all of these small little things, all of these small intricate details that I'm discussing here, and I keep saying, but wait, there's more, but wait, there's more, but wait, there's more, all tie together in such a nice little way that everything just makes sense. This thing changes that thing, and this changes that thing, and this changes that thing, but I don't really have to plan ahead. I just know that I want this, so if I do this and this, that will happen. And at the beginning of every round, all I'm doing is choosing one specialist, and I'm going to focus on a specialist that gets me what I need at that point in the game. Yes, there's probably long-term strategy, and I'd probably perform a little bit better if I was thinking that far ahead, but I really am a big fan of short-term tactical decisions, and this game gives that to you as you start looking through all of the potential actions you can do, all of the places you have to move. But most importantly, you start just by looking at the specialists you have available to you, what specialists you have available to recruit, and then what you could physically do with those things, maximizing all of the things that you can do on any given turn. So one game you might have lots of movement and zip around the course or zip around the map, doing lots of things all over the place. In other games, you might focus on more stuff in those locations, sort of lock yourself in a location and just do everything that you can at that one place. So every time you play this game, the way that you play it and the way that you approach the puzzle and the way that you deal with the sort of randomness that comes out in the location, the tiles that you're placing out as you do the sonar action, as you start exploring more, all of this sort of randomness, I keep saying quote randomness because some of it's random, some of it's not, but the point is all of the setup for these tactical decisions changes every time you play the game, and it really does make you think about things in a different way. And it's really a cool puzzle, the way that all of these different smaller interlocking mechanisms build together to make what is effectively kind of an intricate worker placement action selection kind of mechanism. And I really, really enjoy how it all ties together. And then beyond that, I haven't played this at all in the competitive mode. I've only played solo, which is basically just the co-op mode played by one person. And then you're playing to satisfy these goals, right? There is a win condition, meaning that you have to have satisfied at least 4 of the 7 goals that you're given at the start of the game. But it's not like I'm looking for a certain point. It's not like I'm playing against an AI. There's no AI in this game, so it's not a beat your own high score. It's also not an AI solo. It's just a goal-based solo. If you can do these things, check these things off your list, you will have succeeded in the game. But they're going to change every time. Now, in this prototype, I only got access to the first 2 missions, and the first mission really is sort of pushing you to work the tracks, learning how to use the different systems of the game. And now in the second mission that you just watched me play, this one is really all about exploration. The 3 sort of goals on the map are all about spreading out, right? One of them wanted me to have sonar early so that I can open up the map. One of them wanted me to get a lot of stuff all the way to the right side of the board, means I had to explore all the way right. And one of them wanted me to put tokens out as many places as I could, sort of in the middle of the board, forcing me to go to many different places and try many different things. So this second mission really feels different than the first because it really is all about spreading out and accomplishing things all over the map, rather than sort of focusing on the core mechanism, track building kind of systems. But then on top of that, you also have the scoring goal on that sort of main impact board, plus the scoring you get from the specialist, which I did really well with, getting that 1 specialist tile at the end. That scored me 1 point for all of my senior specialists. But then you also get 3 random goals. So there are 6 double-sided goal cards, so 12 goals. They don't all necessarily work in solo or co-op, and some of them won't work with other cards. So it'll say, if you drew this goal, you can't use this other goal, and so on. But basically, there's a mixture of 12 extra goals, of which you're going to use 3 every game. So that's going to mix things up quite a bit as well. And this variability every time you play, and now again, this is 2 missions, from what I understand, and I didn't follow the campaign completely, so I'm sure there was other stuff unlocked, but I read 4 double-sided mission boards. So there's going to be at least 8 missions in this game, and each of these missions feels different. And I imagine as you go further and further, they're going to start adding some sort of exceptions and special rules and different kinds of mechanisms that play in for those specific missions as they kind of tell a story of your scientists going in on these sort of scientific expeditions. And that excites me because I want to see more about that for sure. But even just with the 2 missions I've got, and the mixture of goal cards that you add on top of that, there's a whole lot of replayability and a whole lot of variability in this game that I really do appreciate. And every time I play this, I have to tweak those little different tracks and little different interlocking mechanisms in slightly different ways to sort of maximize the pieces of the game that I need to match the specific goals that I'm playing with in that specific playthrough. Now, if there's anything small or negative that I can talk about in this video, that also comes out here in the goals. And the reason that is in the solo mode, in the co-op mode, we're playing to clear a certain number of goals. And realistically, the win-loss is not all that random, but the difference between sort of a win of 4 and a win of 7 could very well come down to those bonus cards that you've drawn and how well they tie in with the other things that you're already trying to do. So for example, if I have in this game the one that said I was exploring 2, 3, and 4. Well, I focused on 2, and I had that card that said I don't need to go all that deep. Well, then I don't go deep, and look, I automatically win that one. But there's another card that says I got to get at least, I think it's 2 level 5 cards. But level 5 in this game doesn't help me because in this mission I needed 2, 3, and 4. So if I'm spending time focusing on getting those level 5 cards out on the board, that's sort of wasting time that I could be using to spend on other bonuses or other endgame goals that don't necessarily connect to that goal. So sometimes you get lucky that some of the goals really tie in or really work well with other goals, and sometimes it really feels like you've got these 3 goals that have nothing to do with the other 3 goals, and you really have to work hard to get everything done. So there is a little bit of a swinginess potential problem with these goals, that sometimes you're going to get 7 real easily, and sometimes you're going to get 4 or 5, and that's sort of what you have to be happy with. And as long as you understand that sort of 4 is a win condition and anything else is just fun to see how far you can go, then you're going to enjoy this. But if you get sort of bogged down by the swinginess of those potential goal cards, the draw of those 3 goal cards, it could bother you a little bit. With that said, though, I have a ton of fun with this game. As I said, the mechanisms in here really do tie together in a really cool way. Lots of different sort of knobs and gears to play with and twist and connect together. Lots of different changes in the style of play I play every time based on the different goals, based on the different the specialists that I recruit. Just a whole lot of stuff going on here, a whole lot that I'm excited about. I can't wait to see the rest of the missions to see exactly how they change things up and what other kinds of fun twists and puzzles they add as well. I've definitely got my eye on this. I can't wait to see what the final published version of this looks like. One more thing, I did mention this quickly in the components, but if you skipped that, or even if you didn't, I just want to mention it again here. I want to really applaud this company also for trying to do more sustainable sort of green practices as far as packaging and inserts and so on is concerned. That gets another big double thumbs up from me here. Another great reason to take a look at this game, at this company. Again, it is done with its GameFound campaign as I am recording this, but only just. And again, I have been assured that there will be a late pledge option. So if this is something that you think you might be interested in, I will put a link down below to the GameFound page. GameFound is really good about getting into late pledges. Go ahead and check it out yourself if this does feel like something you'd be interested in. I definitely will be taking a look deeper now that I've had a chance to play through as much as I have. I hope you enjoyed this video. As always, I'd like to ask that if you did, please remember to subscribe, click the bell icon, and like this video down below. And I'll see you all next time. Thanks.